Wait for it. Okay. And we are live. Okay.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Beat Insider, episode 66. This week, we are closing out K-pop month and going to talk with a longtime fan. I am Jimmy Aquino, the host of Comic News Insider, the weekly podcast covering comics, TV, film, and pop culture.
And I'm Heidi McDonald, the editor in chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com, the news blog of comics culture.
I'm
And joining
McKenna.
us, that longtime fan. Oh, thank you. Please introduce yourself. There you go. And McKenna's joining us. Her mom is an old friend of mine because we're old, and I've known her mom since we were kids, and I met McKenna probably when you're, I don't know, 10,
Yeah.
12, I don't know, something like that. How old are you now? 18,
I'm
19? What are you?
19.
19, yes. All grown up. Oh my gosh. But thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. Now, McKenna is a true K-pop fan. Often when they come to New York, we would chat about it. They come by the restaurant. I'm like, okay, tell me what I need to watch. What I need to check out. So how old were you when you sort of discovered K-pop?
I think I was 16. It was at like the
Oh,
very end of
I thought you were going to say 6. I was
2017.
like, what?
No,
Okay,
no, no,
all right.
no. I think, yeah, I was like 15, 16-ish. It was at the very end of 2017. I was actually where was I? I was in Germany for
Mm,
New Year's and I couldn't
wow.
go to sleep. So I went on Instagram and I saw some meme and it was like some random K-pop boy. I had no idea who he was and it was funny. And I was like, okay, I kind of want to learn more about this. And so I went on YouTube and like the only group that I knew of was BTS because like I had heard of them. This was
Sure.
in their
Yeah.
like DNA era kind of. And I
Mhm.
watched the Jimmy Fallon show and I was like, wait, they're kind of funny. And then I just like fell down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of how it always happens. So they were the first group you were kind of exposed to, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, other
And
than like Psy in
of
middle
course.
school, but
Yeah, because that's what we talked about the last couple weeks. How well,
mm,
K-pop has sort of come over to America here and there. It really wasn't until 2012 with Psy's Gangnam Style that the world was like, oh, what is this
yeah.
stuff? And yeah, but then of course with BTS, and I always talk about when they appeared on, was it the AMAs that year, the American Music Awards,
Mm.
or it was one of the other awards or Billboard Awards, their first time, and all their fans were in the building, and the American pop stars were like, "What is happening?" Like, holy
Yeah, I
crap,
remember
we
that.
don't get this much noise, Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
It was such a great. Even I was like, "Oh my god, these guys!" And
And
then watching perform, you're like, "They're incredible."
and as with a lot of things in America that we don't know a lot about, of course, there was a lot of just confusion and mockery at first when we
Yeah,
saw
exactly.
these crowds. And
Mhm.
I think it's become pretty accepted now. I do think
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's completely normalized in a lot of ways. So, which is great, which is fantastic. But where was I? Oh, you know what? It was actually just before the lockdown, and I remember I went over to Madison Square Park, and there was the longest line of teenagers I've ever seen standing. It was like all the way around the
Not
park.
just teenagers. It's
Well,
very
yeah, it was
late
a
age.
Yeah.
quite a young crowd. And,
Sure.
Sony Records is there. So it was some kind of album, and they all had the album, and I saw it was a K-pop band. And I forget, it wasn't a super
You
well-known one.
remember who?
I don't. I might have a photo of it somewhere, but
Okay.
it was not one that I'd heard of. It was,
It might have been NCT. I know they did something there a while
you know
ago.
what?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Very good.
Mhm.
Okay. And
Nice.
but
Excellent.
I sussed it out. I mean, I just, sleuthed it out and figured, because I asked a few of them, "What are you doing?" And they didn't want to tell me. So I was like, "Okay, I'll just have to use my powers." But
Well,
yeah,
that's
I'm
surprising. Normally they're pretty proud. Oh, okay.
well, old person quizzing,
Oh, when an old asks them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I buy albums at Target, they're like, "What book is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's send it to you."
Yeah. But anyway, I mean this I was shocked that I mean, I wasn't shocked, but I mean, it was a huge crowd, And it was, but then I was also like, wow, can they even do this? Because I know that how just huge and overwhelming the fandom is for some of these bands. So, they just hit in that right moment where they could do it without it being a riot, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, right before for sure. Well, I think that's interesting too about the age thing because obviously, yes, it appeals to teens and mostly for sure. But there's something I always go back to is when Blackpink played Coachella, and that Variety reviewer
Oh
who
yeah.
was like, they won us over and talked about how they saw all ages. They saw 50-year-old white people singing in Korean, and they were like, "This is appeals to everyone." I'm like, "Absolutely!" And to me, music, any type of art is pretty subjective and like I mean if I suddenly start a website about Blackpink, then maybe worry about me, but until then I think it's okay to appreciate them. If I change my profile picture to Wendy from Red Velvet, then maybe talk to me, but it's like it's okay for people to like it. And that's what I think is funny. It's like I'm not embarrassed to talk about it. Like people give me funny looks. I'm like, yeah, I'm really into K-pop, and they're like, oh, really? And they, like Heidi said, it's sort of I get made fun of. I'm like, I don't care what you think. I listen to everything,
It's just
but just
music.
currently it's music.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And I'm curious, like, you said when you went to like to buy the album, do do you find that older people, well, a besides being confused, do you find them? Do they say anything about it? Do they sort of seem to make fun of it? Do they seem like it's a passing fad or something?
No, they're very curious about it. They always ask me a bunch of
Oh,
questions like,
good.
"Oh, like who is this? Like I've never heard of this. This is like interesting. How does this work? Like what's in the album?" And I tell them and they're like genuinely interested because they've never
Yeah.
heard about it. Most of the older people that I talk to at least.
Yeah,
They're like that.
yeah. And even when I talked to your mom and dad, and like, even your dad was like, "I get it." Like, I went to the concert with her, and it's like, "This is good." I'm like, "Yeah."
Mhm.
Like, they're really good. Beat the
Yeah.
BTS concert, and I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen the performances," and it's just like it's so entertaining.
Yeah.
Um, and they put on such a great show. And me, as a
But
former, acting background, musical theater, I love a good show. So
Hmm.
how common is it among your peers, though? I mean,
I mean, around where I live, it's kind of like there's a lot of different groups of people, so it's a little hard to find people that like it because there's just like an overwhelming population of like people that would not be into that. Like you can
yeah,
look at them and you're like, yeah, 100% you would make fun of it. And that's like the majority of the people that went to my high
uh,
school. But now,
yeah.
now that I'm in college, I am finding a couple more people that are into it. But I mean, other than that, I have like two friends that I
Yeah.
can talk to about it.
So did you
oh,
sort of hide your K-pop love in high school a little, or do you?
Yeah, it's actually really
I
funny.
don't wouldn't blame you.
I didn't talk about it just because I knew at the time it was like the beginning of 2018. I was back in
Sure.
school and I just didn't really talk about it because I know like some people just don't get it and like I don't want to
Yeah.
start a conversation about that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that like my high school friend group that I was scared to tell is now getting into it after they saw like the
yes.
recent
Yeah.
BTS comebacks. They're like, okay, wait.
Of course. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
that and honestly, it really is like people say BTS is the biggest group in the world right now. There's no question.
Yeah.
And it's like watching their two English song, well now three, releases recently. It's like when Dynamite came out, friends of mine, even at work, were like, "Oh, you like K-pop, right? I really like that new song Dynamite." I'm like, "Yeah, go listen to their old stuff too. You
Yeah,
might not understand
exactly.
half of it, but you'll still like it." And they're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, wow, okay." And I've gotten a lot of people just because I post about it a lot. Some people say too
Hmm.
much, but they who've gotten into it. Like a lot of my friends watched the Blackpink documentary on Blackpink on Netflix because
Oh,
I talked about it, and they were like, "I get it, dude. Like they seem so charming and they're clearly very talented." I went and watched a bunch of. I've never been into that kind of stuff, and I went and watched a bunch of their videos. Our friend Ricky, who is a correspondent with Heidi, and also a teacher. And he's like in his mid 30s and Latino, and he's into all types of music, but he never really, he's like he's fallen down the BTS well. We had dinner there last week. He was like, "Man, it's interesting. It's really great. The genres they cover." I'm like, "Yeah."
hmm.
So what is it about obviously the BTS you saw and you went down that rabbit hole? What was it about them that appealed to you?
They were just so like I don't know, they were just so genuine because well, when I watched the Jimmy Fallon thing and they were just funny and I like that and so I
Yeah,
started watching other
yeah, I
things
remember
but
that.
then
Really
like
fun.
but then at the time, like I didn't pay for a music platform. Oh my god, my dog is coming in. Hold on. Go outside.
Hey, dog, come on in. The dog's a
Okay,
big the
sorry.
dog's a big K-pop fan too, so
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
okay.
She has
The
to
dog
be.
the dog loves K-pop, so
K-pop.
Um,
K-pop, very nice.
oh
Very
god.
nice.
Um, but when I was listening to their actual music, I didn't have like Apple Music or Spotify or anything. I used SoundCloud because I didn't pay for my music platform.
Mhm.
And so all I saw was their SoundCloud originals. So like
Mm,
their old stuff, that's what I started listening to first. Like
yeah.
other than DNA, which had just come out,
Mhm.
it was like Namjoon's first mixtape. It
Yeah, it's like
was a
hardcore
random
rap.
song that
Yeah.
Hosuk made. Yeah, it was just like a bunch of random old stuff that's only on SoundCloud, and I was like, this is really good. Like there's stuff from 2013, 2014,
Yeah.
and then I found like their the universe that they have within their music videos for like
Yeah.
You Never Walk Alone and Most Beautiful Woman in Life and stuff, and I was like, this is so creative and really just like beautiful, and they talk about a lot of really important things, and
Yeah.
that's really what got me into them is
Uh
like that.
yeah, well, I was just talking to Heidi, like, I was aware of how they had a hip hop background and they started like in by the for listeners that don't know, Namjoon is RM, which stands for Rap
Hmm.
Monster. He was the first one picked to be in the group, and a lot of the even on the BTS YouTube channel, the first few videos are just him, rapping like the sound like it's just the sound version of him or the audio version of him do some of his mixtape stuff. And you look at those old videos, and the group was formed to be a hip hop group.
Hmm.
If I'm not right, and I was like, you look at how Jimin and all those guys, how pretty they are in these suits, they look so good. In those old school videos, they have them dressed to the nines, like to be hip hop street, like, and
Yeah.
it's such a difference. It's so great to see that transition, that
Hmm.
transformation.
It's really funny. Like they promised
But it was
Yoongi that he
such a,
wouldn't have
it
to
was,
dance.
yeah, sugar, yeah, they probably not
Dance.
yeah,
They were like, JK.
yeah, and he was like a basketball player, like that's where he
Hmm.
got his name from, Suga, because shooting guard, Suga.
Yeah,
And
and
I
his
did a deep
hometown, yeah.
dive, so I learned a
Hmm.
little bit about them. But yeah, I get it. When I first saw them, I was like, this is great. I love it. But I still wasn't really, even after that American Music Awards, I really didn't get into it. And as I've told you, it wasn't until really Blackpink appearing on like the Colbert Show. And
Hmm.
yeah, there's the old school. There's BTS.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
look at them. How
I
hip hop.
know.
Like look at MG. Look at RM.
Oh
Like
my
look at
god,
there.
no.
Like
Jungkook is like
yeah,
15.
yeah. I
He's
know.
so...
I literally like 15 years
Right?
old. Like they're so young there.
I
That's
know.
Hmm.
And they
20. What is
they're
that?
all but
20. That's like 2015, 2014, something like that.
That's yeah,
Maybe
that's
even 2013.
2013, yeah.
they're all but
Yeah. Like
carrying a
holy cow.
skateboard also.
It's all fake
Yeah.
Versace
Yeah.
too, because I couldn't afford real
Yeah.
Versace, so they like printed it on a t-shirt.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they could buy Versace. And it's like,
Mm.
aren't they? Was it Versace? Who are they modeling for? Was it Versace or who? Right? They just got
They just
released.
did a
They were
thing with
like
Louis
picked as
Vuitton,
model
I
for.
think. No.
That's what I'm thinking. Louis Vuitton. Yeah. I'm like,
Hmm.
holy cow. Yeah. They can afford to buy them out now. So
I think
that's
so,
pretty
yeah.
great. And now, so from BTS, see, like for me, it was Blackpink, and I stuck with it. But then, as I've said before, like it would say, if you like Blackpink, you'll like Twice, you'll like Mamas.
Yeah.
So then I started discovering other groups that way, and Twice became sort of the second group I discovered. Then Mamamoo, and then these Red Velvet, and all these other ones. And then obviously I was watching BTS stuff too. Where did you go from BTS?
Well, I just got like recommendations on my SoundCloud, and I just like started listening to
Yeah.
other songs. Like I think it was who was it? It was Dean, who was an R&B artist, and
Mm,
then it was like old EXO songs, and then like SF9 and Stray
mm.
Kids and Twice and Dreamcatcher. I found Dreamcatcher and I was like, this is amazing. I love
Yeah.
this. Um, and then like
Yeah, I like them. I haven't really
Echo.
I know they're more rock oriented, but yeah, they're great. Yeah.
Hmm.
They're like rock
Yeah.
K-pop. They have like a rock sound to them a little bit, which I would
And
think I
they're
would love.
like if you look up, their journey, they like almost failed so many times and they were a completely different group
Yeah.
before, but they're really
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, it just started showing me a bunch of
Which
other like
happens in a lot of groups actually. Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
They just started showing me a bunch of stuff like Big Bang before the whole
Hmm.
Songri thing happened and like
Yeah, yeah.
all that.
We
And then like G
covered that
Dragon
last week.
stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I told some of my friends that aren't into
Yeah,
K-pop
that's a
about
thing.
it, and they were just as heated as I was. They were like, that's not cool."
No, no, yeah, it's great. And like, I mean, obviously his career's over. But it's like, yeah, but hopefully the other ones they had that reunion planned at Coachella last year,
Mm,
before everything blew up. the Burning Sun scandal, which we briefly talked about last week. But I hope the other ones still can get together and do stuff, because obviously G Dragon is still producing and doing stuff like that, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting that you sort of like fell into a mix of old and new, because we talked about the different generations last week. We're the
Mm,
fourth generation, I guess now. We're
yeah,
transition from
fourth.
third to fourth right now, and but you discovered a lot of the older ones too, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
a lot of 2000 stuff. And then it wasn't until like last summer that I got into 90s stuff.
Mm,
And I found a group that I really liked. They're called Click B, and they were like one of the really lesser known ones. And they
mm.
debuted in 1999 and disbanded in 2004. So like that whole era is kind of like that was when I was born. So it's it's
Hold on,
just
you
like
guys.
cool.
Hold on, you guys. I'm trying to find a photo of them. So, because I
Click B.
am,
Oh, I see them. Yeah.
Click
yeah, yeah,
B.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
loved their debut song, and I bought the CD on eBay for like $13, and that was like the only
That's
one that I
awesome.
can find that'll ship to the US.
Yeah,
It's
I was watching. We were doing like the history of K-pop the first week we
mhm.
did. Yeah, there
Oh
we are.
yeah,
It
that's
was the
fun as
first week
hell.
we did K-pop month, and with our friend Paul from the Asian Theory channel, we talked about how like the two big companies at the time, it just were SM obviously formed early, but DSP Media, and this they're with DSP. Click B
Mhm.
was, and yeah, some of those older ones, I besides like obviously like second gen like Big Bang and 21 and
Mhm.
the Girls' Generation, Wonder Girls, things like that. I definitely went back, and the one I really like also is One Time, which is Teddy's group. Teddy is one of the producers of Black Label, and which is YG, and
Yeah,
he produces almost all of Blackpink's songs. And he was in this rap group, and I really like One Time. I think they're great.
they're
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So now
Let
I'm
so what did you go ahead, Heidi? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna
Go ahead.
say, like, I mean, obviously there's something for everyone musically, and there's so much music to enjoy in all of these. But I'm wondering, like, I mean, we have talked a lot about the armies and the fandom, which is also just so huge and
Mhm.
well mobilized. It's so well documented how K-pop fans have been, messing with American politics for the better. Yeah, so I mean, are
Yeah.
you part of an organized fandom at all, or are you, have you dabbled in that, or what's your relationship with the fandom?
Yeah, I'm like on Stan Twitter, and so I'm in like the 17 and the BTS like fandom, but I'm not like super active in it. Like I
Yeah.
don't have a big account. I don't tweet a lot. I just kind of observe.
Mm.
And so I get a lot of information from that, but I don't necessarily interact. And that's how it's been since I
17 being another big boy band right now. Yeah.
17, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I find the fandom really interesting because every fandom is given their name by the basically the company that forms the group. The
Mhm.
company comes with the name of the fandom, and some are first I thought like, well, some of these are just really silly, but then you think about some American fandoms like. What is one of the real? I'm not a fan. Sorry, no offense to you guys, but like Jimmy Buffett, they're called parrot heads, which your parents are, and
My
and it's like
dad.
your parents are. I know your dad is a parrot. Like that's kind of a silly name, It's like,
I
but
didn't
then
know there was
you
a name for
so it's kind
that.
of the same thing. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
they're called
yeah,
parrot. Oh, please go
oh
call him a
yeah.
parrot head as soon as it's done. Like, what's up, you parrot head?
So,
Oh my
But
god.
yeah, it's oh, this
you
is
know,
17. Yeah,
this is 17.
Mhm.
Is it
yeah,
called 17 because there's
yeah,
17 of them?
No, there's 13.
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's like sometimes the number doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's interesting, like how they come with some of the names, and I also find that I think I mean SM is such a huge reason K-pop exists today.
Mm.
Lee Soo-min, the guy that started SM Entertainment, he created the whole system, the K-pop system, and just the whole idea of like I'm not sure if he was the first one to do it, to sort of like integrating English into the music pretty early on. I don't know, maybe you know this, McKenna, but it's like nowadays
No idea.
every K-pop song has English in it, like
Yeah.
a spattering of it, and often most of the almost all the titles, I'd say 90% of the titles, 95 are in English. And the same thing
Yeah.
with the group names, they often are, because they made a big push. I know even culturally, Korea made a big push of like, let's appeal to the West, about things. Part of the how they call it
Mhm.
the Hallyu wave, the Korean wave. Um, so I find that really interesting. But the fandom names, like I like, if I went through and told people the fandom I'm part of, they're like, "What is that? You're a blank? You're a
Well,
moo? What?
well, how
You're a
much?
what
Well,
does
so
that mean?"
Jimmy, how much do you participate in the fandoms? Are you part of the army? Are
Oh,
you a
I have
mumu?
25. I have 25 websites, and no, like I like McKenna, like yeah, no, I kind of go to like these K-pop news sites. There's a couple like YouTube. K-pop, like DK TV is really big on YouTube, and they're two Korean guys who lived in America and Canada at some point and live in Korea now, and so their videos are in English, but they cover K-pop news, and they're pretty big, so they get some of the groups on every once in a while. Like the recent one is a one-on-one interview with Woojin, who had a lot of controversy recently.
Oh,
And great in it, yeah, it
Why did
just came
Woojin?
out,
What
like, and
happened
he
to
had a
Woojin?
lot of
What happened to
controversy.
Woojin? Come on, come
wait, from
on.
It's a
Stray Kids?
whole long story.
No,
Oh,
but
Yeah,
share it. That's
well,
what
no,
we're here
yeah,
for.
yeah, no, yeah, Woojin, yeah, Woojin, the one that got like he went solo, and then he had all this. Is he from Stray Kids? I think, and he's
wait,
the one that
Woojin? He didn't go.
they had
Well,
all
yeah,
this
he did go
blatant.
solo.
Is it Woojin?
Basically, he lied about
Yeah, and
having an
then
entertainment company. He like made it up, and then
yeah,
he
well
like
they,
tried to get girls to come home with him from the bar, even though they didn't want him to, and like
but it
Oh,
was just proved that was just disproven. I
it
think
was.
definitely
I'm not into
the
that.
entertainment company thing.
I'm like
The
leaving that
entertainment
alone.
company thing was disproven because the entertainment company does exist, and so it's this whole thing. And he goes on, explains it, and he gives. I mean, you could believe what you want, but it's like that's something
Mm.
else we talked about recently is the power of the fandom. Yeah, it's Woojin.
I
And
gotta be.
is that
I
like
gotta be honest. It's hard to hate someone who looks like that.
so? I know, so
Yeah, in
cute.
certain pictures, he kind of looks like the Ice Age baby, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
um, but that's what I find interesting about also that we've talked about this too is we talk about America cancel culture, but in Korea it is no joke. Like they will take a
hmm
rumor, if like we talked about recently last week as well, the bullying scandal. Half of those were
mm.
disproven, if not more than half of them. Like when they tried to go after Chu, you're like, okay, calm down. Chu from Luna is the most adorable thing in the world. There's no
Yeah,
way she was a
literally,
bully. And the person who
she's
posted was
done
like,
nothing wrong.
well, I was just posting it and I didn't, it was like a joke or something like that. Like, well, I heard
Mhm.
this. Like, so half
Yeah,
of them were wrong, but like, luckily she easily survived it. But then you see older, things happen with certain, obviously the Bernie Sun scandal is real, things like that. But then you see something like what happened with Park Baum from 21,
hmm
who when I've talked about this before, where she was taking prescription medicine in America for anxiety, and it's illegal in Korea. So while she did have it shipped to her grandmother's house, they made it out like in Korea, and they found out later she was taking it as accordion. She wasn't like selling it or whatever. They made her out to be a drug mule and like a
mm.
drug addict. So her career, she's just lately, the past couple years, started making a little bit of a comeback.
Who is this? Who's
She
making
was
the
she,
comeback?
she was from 21, Park
Uh,
Bom, Park
oh,
BOM,
oh, I
and
can't.
she's got one of the most unique voices in K-pop, and she's from the second gen. Oh, that's a
I
very no,
That's
that's Chu. That's
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 true.
Chu.
that's Chu.
Who's the bully?
No, none of these are no, she's not. She was accused of being one
All
because
right.
there's a big bullying scandal. No, she has a great YouTube channel actually. She can do it where she does all these. She's so adorable. Oh my god, she's so great. And because of Paul, now I stand Luna. Thanks, Paul. And but yeah, I think the fandom is interesting because as Heidi was saying, like they really can mobilize for the good, but also they can. I guess it's sort of the anti-fandom though, because that's something
Yeah,
else I find interesting in with K-pop is that there's anti-fandom. Have you
yeah,
run across that with
yeah.
like
People
what are
like
your experiences?
waste their time and their energy on like putting some other
Yeah.
group down just because they either don't like them. Like EXO and BTS had this thing like a couple years ago where like the fandoms were basically battling against each other, but like EXO and BTS are actually friends with each other. They like hang
Yeah,
out and the
that makes no
fandoms were just
sense.
like at war and it didn't make any sense and I'm so glad I wasn't part of that, but I mean it was just
Yeah.
because people were like
No,
BTS
I
is taking
see that all the
the
time.
place. And it's like okay.
We're like, well, they've taken over the world for sure. But that's
Yeah,
nothing against EXO. Just
yeah,
music evolves and everything fandom it changes. But that what kills
You
me.
know,
It's like, can't you be a fan of more than one group?
oh
I'm a
yeah,
fan of thousands of music bands all over the
so
world.
McKenna, let me ask you though, because one of the things we have been talking about on this is like the passionate fandom, and like why do you think that people become so invested, like the armies, and it becomes a lifestyle for them, really? I mean, what do you think is the appeal of that kind of really overwhelming
Intense,
fandom,
yeah,
intense and overwhelming
yeah.
fandom that some people
It's really
have?
unique to K-pop. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, people mainly like join those fandoms because they find that that the artist is very relatable to them. Like how BTS talks about a lot of like mental health issues. People are like, "Oh my
yeah.
gosh, I didn't know anyone like would recognize that. I
Mhm.
didn't know like I would be recognized for that, because like I relate to that." And so people get into it, but then they get like really invested and really passionate. And most of the time it's like we talked about, most of the time it's teenagers, so they don't have like a lot of real life things going on because they're still in high school and they still like most of them don't have jobs or anything. So they just like spend a lot of their time and like they hyper fixate on things and like you go through phases. You go through phases of like just really thinking about one thing like all the time. And
Yeah.
then you go through a phase of thinking about another thing all the time. And it's just like how it's just how we work. Like even
Yeah.
if you are an adult,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, for
you can
sure.
Yep.
still go through that kind of phase where
Yeah.
you like
Well,
suddenly
that's
obsessed
what's funny
with
is I
something.
have those phases all the time where I'm just like,
Hmm.
and I always say to people like, I'll really like something for a while, then I'll just get over and move on to something else. But K-pop is stuck, so we'll see. So how long it lasts for me.
Yeah, same.
But I have seen lots of idols and even different Korean news sites. I watch a lot of Korean variety shows now where they've talked about the subject, why the fandom is so almost feels intimate, and intense with them. And they all say, well, it's because we're accessible and like we go on all these variety shows. We have these things as I've talked about that we do live streaming all the time. The V Lives, they do on that streaming platform
Hmm.
where they're constantly, and it's part of their job. They're constantly like whether it's solo or they're grouped together or a couple of them together, where they talk for hours just straight to the fandom in with the comments, and they respond to them. So the fans are really connected to them.
And I mean,
And you see them on these variety shows.
yeah, I would imagine
Yeah, go ahead.
also like if like if they have these live streams that if you send in a question, the chance to have your question answered by one of your idols is,
Yeah.
powerful. So, and then if you get it answered, like it is, yeah, it's a red letter day for sure. You write about that in your diary that
Yeah.
night, right? Um, so
On Stan Twitter. Yeah, for sure.
you had
Hmm.
Instagram. Pardon me.
Yeah.
You do an Instagram or TikTok about it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that I mean, I think that's kind of part of the whole system is fostering that closeness with the fandom and
Hmm.
Yeah.
but it has a dark side too. Like we've talked about
Oh,
how
sure.
hard it is for
The
them to
Saisongs.
date
Yeah. Yeah.
and like if they find out that they are dating someone there could be a suicide watch literally and so it's obsessive. It can become obsessive also.
Hmm.
Yes, it does. And some of the fans turn on them, which is so ridiculous to me. I don't get it. It's like, because that's what I saw JYP, who's Jin Young Park, who runs JYP Entertainment. He's talked to me, he goes, yeah, I don't want my idols to date at first because it's part of the whole idea is that they're accessible to the fans, and the fans feel like, while it'll never happen, feel like maybe one day I could be with them. It's like, and that's a
Mm.
dangerous, I think, sort of idea to have.
Yeah.
But I understand where he's coming from. Like the idea that was the same thing with the old Hollywood system, back in the day, like secret, weddings and marriages and liaisons. You didn't want the fans to know because you're like, oh, I might have a chance with, Rock Hudson. Like, well, more reasons than one you won't. But it's like, yeah, it's
I
just
might have
it's
a chance
really
with Bruce Campbell.
yeah. There you go. You might. You never know. You know.
I don't think so.
One day, Solar from Mamamoo and I will be together. It's gonna happen. I'm just saying. But yeah, it's really interesting seeing that, and then you get, like we talked about last week, get the obsessive, or that they call the Saisongs, or how you say that, the Saisong fans, that like that dude that's what's his name that's following, dangerously falling around Nayeon from Twice. That guy like
Mm.
he's dangerous, and like hopefully won't let him in the country again. But it's like it's scary. But at the same time, you see how close they fit, and that's the first thing you always see them say, "Thank you to our fans."
So
And that's something
yeah, I mean, I guess, like, yeah, I guess for you, what is it? Is it the relatability or is it the music first, do you think? Or, is it the social aspect of fandom, do you think that drew you into this web? Or was it the music first?
Music.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's always music, because that's what happened with me. Is like, and then I started watching these variety shows. Do you watch any like Running Man or things like that?
Mm.
And
Hmm.
they're great because while
Yeah.
those still are scripted, they can kind of be themselves a little bit on those, and you sort of see their individual charms and things like that.
So
Mhm.
And I'm
all right,
guessing that's what
explain.
you're saying.
So both of you explain, what is Running Man? Tell
Oh,
us.
McKenna, go! It's the best. Go ahead. Go start.
Running Man. Oh man. I mean, they just act like idiots, and it's funny, and it's just like.
Yeah, It's this big.
Yeah.
It's a very physical variety show. So Yu Jesik is probably the biggest entertainer in South Korea right now. He was actually in Psy's Gangnam Style video. He was in the yellow suit, drives up in the car, and dances
Mm.
with them. He's the biggest name in entertainment. He hosts all the big shows. He's the biggest host in South Korea. And he hosts along with like 4 or 5 others. There's a team of them hosts Running Man, and they invite K-pop idols on, actors. They even like the cast of Mission Impossible came on once, and they like remember you see Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill like this is the greatest time I've had a variety show ever, and you see like Ryan Reynolds did it before Deadpool. It's basically physical games they have. Yeah, that's it. So there's
Mhm.
that's you, Jessic. He just left. I know Kwang. I forgot his last name. Haha, that's Haha. I love Haha. He's great. Jungkook there. Um, but yeah, they so it's a physical thing. Like it's called Running Man for a reason because a lot of the games they'll play literal tag throughout the building of the station that they air it on,
Mhm.
and they have these like numbers, and their names, like Velcro on their back, and it's team up. It's a lot of stuff is very physical, but it's very funny because they're all comedians, and you can see the idols or the actors, their faces, like it is partially scripted, but it's like you see them. Those are real reactions. Like when
Mm.
Jenny, they go into like a haunted house, and Jenny from Blackpink is notoriously kind of very scared easily, and she
Mhm.
comes out bawling her eyes out, and they sort of all make fun of it. She makes fun of herself, and it's hilarious, and it's really funny. She starts laughing at herself, and even afterwards, and it's really funny, and it's really fun to watch. And again, you get to see them sort of be themselves, and that's what
Mm.
I think is so charming about it. And then like on the one that's on Netflix you can watch, it's called Men on a Mission on Netflix, but also called Knowing Bros, where it's like 7 or 8 guys in
I
a
love that
classroom.
one.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
great. They have from
Oh
like
my
a 20 something
gosh.
year old for idol, to like was it Hodong Bakjong, who owns the Bakjong,
Mhm.
Korean barbecue places. He's a former wrestler now in entertainment, like
Did you
MC.
say Heechul was a 20 something?
No, he's just 30, but isn't well, the other
Yeah.
guy, is he 20 something? The other guy, he was more from a rock band. Oh, I forgot his name. But he was
No, I
like
think they're
30,
about
like 33. Yeah. Oh,
Rock
maybe they're both
Band.
like 30 something. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wasn't
think
the
they're
other one
about
the
30
younger one? He's
something.
like in a rock band. Yeah, okay. So like 30 something
Mhm.
to like 50 something are the
Mhm.
hosts. But it's really fun because like again, it'll be actors or singers come on, and they just play games with them. Like could you imagine like those 5 minute games that Jimmy Fallon plays or James Corden plays? This is an hour to an hour and a half of these shows. Could you
And it's like a
imagine
whole thing.
Ariana Grande doing that for an hour? No way. No way. She'd be 5 minutes, be like, you got five, and that's it. And like, but then you see, like I said, you saw Americans come on shows like that. You saw they were given an hour with the Mission Impossible crew. It was Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg, and Henry Cavill. It's on YouTube. Watch it. It's brilliant. They were like, like Simon Pegg's like, this is so much fun. Like they were having a blast with them. And even though the crew of Running Man was told like, okay, these are giant stars, be careful, they still were able to be themselves, and they maybe held back a little, but they still like, they went for it, and they clearly had a good
Mhm.
time. They definitely, you can watch those online with the English subs. Heidi, I would look those up for sure.
Oh.
But that I think is part of the accessibility of it, is like seeing them on these shows. You're like, wow, they're really funny, or they're really cool, and that's how I discovered many other people. I'm like, oh, they're really funny in this show. Let me go check out their music.
Yep, same.
Yeah, right. Isn't that great? So besides all these boy bands we talked about, what are some of the girl bands you're into?
Oh.
Well, I have a
Or
couple Twice albums and a
Oh, this is
couple Red
oh,
Velvet
sorry,
yeah, I'm
one second.
sorry.
albums.
This is
I'm a few seconds behind here, but I am I am,
yeah, this is
I don't know
This
as
is
much
so weird to
music.
these have,
watch.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I
that
can't
great.
play it any longer because we'll get stopped.
Yeah, we'll
But
get
anyway,
striked. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that's it. You
yeah.
can watch
But
Henry
yeah, watch
Cavill.
that whole episode. It's brilliant. It's really
Mhm.
funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're saying you Twice in Red Velvet?
Yeah, Twice Red Velvet mainly, and then like I'm starting to get more into Luna. Like I got into Luna a little bit a couple years ago, and then
Oh,
like now I'm picking it back up. And same with like
I just got into
Dreamcatcher.
it.
And I was
Yeah.
obsessed with Triple H for a while, and then they stopped
Mm.
like doing
Oh.
music. And I'm so like the two EPs that they have, I'm like clinging on
Yeah.
to them. I'm like, please, please.
Oh. Well, what
But
was it about? Like which? what was it about like Twice and Red Velvet? Because I like Twice was probably the second group I got into, and then
Hmm.
Red Velvet I kind of came down the line like almost a year later. But I'm hardcore. Like Wendy is like one of the most amazing singers in K-pop. She's,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
ridiculously
Have
amazing. Grew up, I went to school in America and Canada, so speaks fluent English and everything
hmm
like that. But what got you into those groups?
Twice. I just really liked how fun they're like, especially, Cheer Up and like TT, like those early songs are
Mm.
what I heard first. And then I think my first comeback with them
Ah, okay.
when I was like actually into them was oh my gosh,
Fancy,
why did the names like blank for me?
fancy. What is love?
Yeah, What is Love? It
What
was
is
What is
love?
Love.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, oh,
And then
can't
like their most
stop me.
recent
That's one of the.
comebacks, I've been like in and out of just because
Yeah, I've been sort of iffy on the recent ones. I did
I mean
like
they've been good.
Cry for Me.
Like
Yeah,
the second
but
or
they
third
haven't
listen,
been.
I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, same. I think like not since I Feel Special have I really liked it. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
Feel Special I thought was great, but then the ones after that, like Cry for Me and more, I'm like, okay, they're fine. I don't love it, but they're
Yeah,
fine.
they're nice.
I'm sorry, Twice fans. I still love them. I still love them. I'm still a ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, their older stuff are like I don't know why, but when I hear Yes or Yes, it just makes me smile. It's just
Hmm.
joyful and super
Yeah.
fun. And that's what's great is there's all these different. What would you categorize them? Because there's different categories of music. I guess they're more. I don't want to use the word cutesy, but they're sort of cutesy pop. You
They
know,
were. And I
yeah,
guess
they
they're
definitely
they're they're
matured. Yeah,
maturing now,
yeah. Hmm.
I feel like. But
Um,
they're just very like summery fun, but then they can also have a kind of
mhm,
like intimate side to their
yeah.
music,
Cry for Me, the new one especially. Yeah, I love.
Hmm.
It's great.
And
But
I like how versatile their music can be because all their ballads are really, really good.
yeah, and with Red Velvet, they've always said that like the red is this side and
Hmm.
Velvet's that side. Red's more the fun, cutesy stuff. Velvet's more the serious.
Yeah.
Like Red Velvet's more Red Flavor, which I love that song Red Flavor. And then you get like the Velvet side is like Psycho, which is awesome. Like the vocals in
Yeah.
that are incredible.
Yeah.
But that's something else I really enjoy, and some people seem to have an issue with. I've noticed on some reaction videos, they're like, stick to a genre. I love that almost every K-pop group. Oh, there's yeah, Red Velvet Psycho. Oh yes.
That's so
Oh,
good.
I love this song. So good. I mean, the title's a little problematic, but besides that, it's like, but it's really great. Like, look at Wendy. My God, she's killing it. But yeah, it's great stuff. But sorry,
See,
I
I'm
was
getting so
I got
sophisticated with I
distracted.
know he got just with the sight of
Yeah,
them and he became
yeah,
Hmm.
verklempt.
yeah. I get lost in with Red Velvet, but they're just so good. I just think they're so talented. But what every group seems to cover multiple genres. Like
Hmm.
as you know, Mamamoo is one of my favorites. I know you love Hwasa,
Yeah.
and but it's like they started out with like very jazzy, then got sort of poppy, then even had like a little rock, and then hip was sort of more traditional K-pop, but with a little bit and that which was their biggest hit to date. But they had their ballads because they are the best vocals in K-pop.
Yeah.
Because all four of them are amazing singers. I wish they'd let Buell sing more. I know she's the rapper, but it's like you kind of guys don't even need a rapper. Like it's okay to have a group that doesn't rap.
Yeah, it's like
But it's
different.
traditional. I
Like
get it.
like you can have a girl
Yeah,
group without a rapper.
yeah, exactly. Which is great. Which I wish they had more of. Um, but
What
I
are you
love that
talking
there's
about? Mamamoo? You
yes,
beloved
Hmm.
Mamamoo? All right, let's
my God. Oh, this is it's a recent comeback. It's so good. Oh my God. I suggest watching one of their best ballads ever. It's called "I Miss You," and the video is great. But there's also they were on a show at the end of 2019 called Queendom, which was different female idol groups competing against each other, and they won. And their version of "I Miss You" on there is like I tears may form. I don't know. Something comes out of my eyes, but when I see it, but it's so beautiful because their harmonies are so good. Like they're clearly, they're all really good singers. And as a former, performer, as a singer myself, I'm like, I love me a good harmony. And boy, can they
Mhm.
harmonize the crap out of stuff. It's so good.
Mhm.
But because
Their live
my
stuff
find is
is so
curious.
good.
Oh god, yeah, the live they're obviously like they're the only group in K-pop because I think we talked about this, Heidi, where every K-pop group has a greeting. They're like
Mhm.
"안녕하세요," blah, 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 whoever, and they have like a little saying like Twice is like 1 in a million, and we're Twice, and then Black, other ones just go hi, we're Blackpink, but Mama was the only one that harmonizes their greeting, and it's
Oh.
really great. It's really great. I'll try to find it. I can play it for you. But what I'm curious about the genres, McKenna, like how each group covers multiple genres. Did you find that like sort of odd at first? Like, oh, I thought they were more pop, and now they're doing like a jazzy thing. Now they're like a rock thing. What did you think about
Mm,
that?
no, I didn't really know. Like, same thing with when people are like, "Oh, there's English in this song," and I go, "Oh, yeah, yeah, there is." I didn't really see that as being something like strange or like out there or like, "Oh, I didn't expect that."
Yeah,
Same with like them
nice.
covering multiple genres because it's
Yeah.
like okay, yeah, their style's gonna change. Like they're gonna want to try out different sounds. Like I feel like that's a normal thing, especially because I started listening to BTS's earlier, more hip hop rap
Mhm.
focused stuff, and then I jumped straight to DNA, which is like more poppy
Ah,
than their earlier stuff. So
yeah.
I got that range like very early on, and so I expected other groups to kind of be similar, like
Hmm.
try out different genres in their songs and in their albums, and like same goes with concepts. Like they change concepts every comeback.
Hmm.
And I didn't find that as something that was like totally strange because I'm like it's growth, it's
Yeah,
change,
I
groups
love
go
it.
through that.
Like you would never see that with an American. Like the only
Hmm.
thing I remember seeing it when you were younger is like Garth Brooks tried his little like rock pop thing, where he changed his name to what was it? I forgot. But it's like artists should be able to, but then I get the company's like, no, you're known for this. We have to keep you like this. I think
Mm,
Pink might have been one of the few exceptions where she was told to be more like R&B. She said, I want to sing pop though. And
yeah.
so after her first successful album, that's why every album after that was more poppy. Oh, I found the here it is. I'm gonna play this for you guys real quick. The Mamamoo intro. Here they are.
Mm,
Like the only ones that
mm.
can
Nice.
harmonize, and
Hmm.
every time you watch it, like you see the other groups going, "Oh my god, they can even like
And they're
harmonize
like,
their greeting."
cool.
Okay, we don't want to go after them. Yeah, yeah. I love that we show like what you say like BTS, and like there's like some video where like how Namjoon always just like thinks it's the best thing in the world. When he sees it, he's like, yeah, like he gets so excited when he hears him do it. Yeah, I remember seeing those like what are those like FBE React videos to K-pop, whatever. I
Mm,
remember somebody was just really like, about my. I wish I'd stick to a genre. I'm like, shut up. It's like
yeah.
it's I like what you said. I think it's so refreshing to see them. It's like an actor. It's like you see
I
actors who get stuck in the role of
but
like can Timothy Olyphant play
I
cop. It's
think
great to
it's
play other roles.
I think it's like a lot of great pop groups are never didn't really stay in one genre. I mean, I can only
Yeah.
speak to Western music because that's what I know. But
Mhm.
I mean, even a band like Queen, they had four different
Mhm.
songwriters in the group. So guess what? All their songs sounded a lot different.
No, for sure.
And
Yeah.
like I think some of the greatest. I don't know. A lot of times it comes down to songwriting. So
Mhm.
now, actually, I have a question. Do a lot of groups write their own material, or is there certain songwriters that are associated with each group, or like because I know in America like hip hop producers are like kind of the impresarios of all this stuff, but
Another one. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, what is the situation with K-pop? Who are the songwriters?
It depends on the group, I think. Because there's some groups like BTS, they do write their own songs.
Hmm.
Um, just
Twice, right? Some
because,
of them will write some of their songs. Yeah.
hmm but then they have other people come in and help. Like, I think Ed Sheeran wrote one of their songs.
Hmm.
Other
Their new
people
one.
like
Yeah.
collaborate with
Yeah.
them. But then I know that
Yeah.
17 is like a self-produced group, so they make their own songs. They create their own choreography, and I think they have
Oh
like help
wow.
with one other choreographer, but like Hoshi is the main person that makes their choreography. And
Amazing.
then like Woozi is the one that makes all the songs. And then like they have
Oh wow.
yeah, so they have different performance units. So they have like a vocal,
Mhm.
a dance, and a hip hop unit, and so they all like collaborate with each other, and they have like different leaders with each group. So I know that
That's
they do that.
great. Oh, I gotta check.
Yeah.
It's
I've
pretty
I've
cool.
seen a couple of their things, but I gotta check
Their choreography is
them
insane.
out.
Yeah.
That's great.
If you
Now,
just watch those dance
so,
Yeah.
practice.
so
Yeah.
McKenna, when we were starting out to quiz
Yeah.
you about this to come on the show, I think you mentioned though that you were a fan of like J-pop and Thai pop and other like you've branched out. I mean, what are some of
Hmm.
the things that you've discovered about other Asian pop movements?
It's not so much like with Thai and Japanese music. I don't really get into like the pop aspect. I get into a lot of like rock indie groups. Like
Yeah.
with Thai, I really like this group called Folk Nine, and then I also like another group called Anatomy Rabbit. and then a couple other just like artists that I listen to. And then Japanese, I got into like the Chesaracera. I'm pretty sure is
Mhm.
how they pronounce their name. And I checked their Instagram, and they have like less followers than I do, and I'm like,
Oh
oh, this is like
no.
an indie band,
Wow.
okay.
Wow.
Oh.
And I don't have that many followers, so I was really
McKenna's
surprised.
got 100,000 followers, guys.
No, yeah,
Well,
so I was like,
that's
okay,
great.
I might have just found something. So
Right?
I
Nice.
just,
Good
Great.
yeah,
good call. Yeah,
Yeah.
trailblazer. Well,
Well,
yeah,
it is fun
if
it is
you're,
fun to discover, like, music you like that
yeah,
isn't too well trammeled, like a
mhm,
mountain pond where not everybody's come and trampled it and it's all muddied sometimes.
yeah. Well, like 10 years ago, they have these anime festivals here every year, a couple of them in New York City. And, I go to cover them. Heidi covers them or like that. But then one year they were having a concert, as sometimes they do, along with a lot of J-pop, J-rock bands, as they invited me to cover it. We went to, oh gosh, what's that? Oh, downtown. Oh, I forgot the name of it. The famous club that has a lot of, oh God, who goes?
The bottom
But
line.
so no, so John and I, my late friend Mike and I, the three of us went, and they had these J rock and J pop bands, and I was like, these are incredible. They had this, like, we called them the Japanese Poison. They were so good. They had these, like, they looked like the band Poison, like, but they sounded, they were great. And then this one all girl band, I think they're still together, called Susi Samire or something like that, and they were amazing musicians and really great. And I like met them, like, 'cause it was a small venue. We met them and like talked to them afterwards. A couple of them spoke a little English here and there, and it was really fun. And I was like, so I was for like a
mhm,
hot minute, I was kind of following them. That was like 10 years ago, but I never got back into it. But yeah, I'd be
Yeah, in
curious
the
to check these
90s when I
out.
was like a music journalist, there were so many Japanese bands like Shonen Knife. That was the first
Oh yeah.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was like these kind of girl hard rock bands that had kind of the novelty factor, but they also fell in with the whole girl power movement of the
Yeah.
time. So I love Shonen Knife.
Yeah. Well, now we
Um,
got baby metal,
yeah, well,
yeah,
obviously,
incredible.
yeah, baby
Yeah.
metal is
Great.
huge. They came
mhm,
to Comic-Con last time. There was a
Yeah.
Comic-Con, remember?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So,
Already gone through lineup changes though, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, those the Japanese girl hard rock bands are pretty awesome.
mhm,
Yeah,
And
for
there was
sure.
definitely, that kind of got started in the 90s, I would say, and then has just
Yeah, for
blossomed
sure.
since then.
yeah,
Well, besides even like the other one within Korean music, you've gotten into other stuff. Like Korean rap's pretty big too. And I've gotten into a
mhm,
lot of Korean rap. We talked about this in emails. Like I really love Nuxall and some of the other ones you mentioned, like BY is great. And of course, uh, well, you mentioned some of the other ones you already like, the K rap groups or solos you like.
mhm. Well, I love DPR just because they're like a self-produced
Hmm.
kind of group of different type of musicians and like directors, and they make their own music videos, and
Nice.
it's just really really cool. So the two main guys are DPR Live and DPR Ian, and they make most of the music. DPR Ian is Korean Australian,
Ah,
and he
right.
was in a group called Sea Clown back in like the late 2000s, but like that didn't really take off. So now he is like covered in tattoos, and he has a dog, and he's like the artistic director, and he also had a I think he released an EP, um, and he like wrote all the music and sang it and all that. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then DPR just released a new EP, um, and DPR Live is the one that's singing in it. And they also have Benzino and Wasa in one of the
Oh
songs.
yeah.
Yeah, so they're
Nice.
like they're like getting up there. They're really
Yeah.
popular. And their music videos are absolutely beautiful. They're so
Oh,
cool to watch.
nice.
Like I just watch them over and over again because they're like
Yeah.
just visually
Oh, I haven't
pleasing.
checked them out yet. That's awesome.
They're cool.
And also you mentioned one of my faves too, Jessie.
Mhm.
Jessie's an interesting story,
Yeah.
because she's born in New York, raised in New Jersey, moved to Korea when she was 15, and she's like 31, 33, something like 33, I think 32. And she got into the idol thing, but she has a really unique voice, very soulful voice, but she also raps besides sing. She's a great singer. But then sort of took a 5-year hiatus after
Yeah.
like a couple albums that did moderately. She was in a couple groups, did moderately well, and then came back solo and did okay. but it really wasn't until the past couple of years she's really blown up. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of it started with they have these different competition shows, Heidi. We talked
Mhm.
about for idol groups. Yeah, Jessie, what
Ugh,
type of X? But that's her
she's
newest
so
one.
cool.
She's so cool. But she's obviously American, but has lived in Korea for years, and like she's become giant now. And even like she's in her 30s, and she's probably the most successful she's ever been in her career. And she in 2017 she was on this competition show called Unpretty Rap Star, which was sort of the female version of
That
Show
was
Me the
so
Money, a
funny.
competition show. And she became a meme because she would speak in English on there as well. But she started sort of yelling at the other contestants like, this is the competition. This is not, we're not friends, like that. So that became this big meme. She got like second place on that. But after that, she started appearing on more variety shows. And she's one of the few you can't script because she doesn't follow it. And she's just herself. And people
Mhm.
love it. Like the Korean public at first wasn't sure what to do with her. But now they're like, they love her uniqueness and her, that she just says whatever she wants. She's not like rude and like outright, and like that. But it's really funny. And seeing her on
Yeah.
Running Man with her and you, Jessica, who seeing the fact that Jessica really championed her certainly helped her along as well. And now she has her own talk show, which is brilliant. If you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. It's called Show Interview with Jessie. And she interviews all these K-pop stars, these American actors. She even interviewed Emma Stone recently via Zoom. She's so funny because she'll like shut down, but she'll yell at her producers, "No, I don't want to say that," something like that. And it's really, really funny. And she's naturally funny, but she also look at her like you don't want to mess with her.
Yeah.
Because she'll kick your yeah. But her music is really good. Her new stuff I love. My God, like Nunu Nana last year was
What
like
is
one
her
of the
name
biggest hits
again?
of the year. Jessie, Jessi.
Who's the you're still
Yeah,
talking
still
about
on
Jesse. That
Jessie.
was the
Yeah,
last one. Yeah. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm trying
And
to
she's signed. Guess whose label she's signed to? Psy Gangnam Style.
Ah.
Who? Yeah, his P
Mhm.
Nation, and he's got all these great
Yeah.
people on like
Isn't
Jenna
it?
and Dawn. Yeah, he's got.
Yeah, and then Crush too. It's just
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
I love that little
Yeah, Crush. I don't
family.
know. Oh, this is
Crush is in it, yeah.
her what type of X thing? Yeah. Um, you do not mess with
Yeah.
Jessie. She's the best. I love her. She's so good.
Mhm.
But why I definitely recommend watching her like her interview show. It's really funny. But Crush, I don't know. Tell me about Crush.
Crush is he's done hip hop, R&B.
Hmm.
He's so just like genuine. He has a YouTube
Hmm.
channel where he just like posts videos of his dogs and like him
That's
playing
great.
piano. And he's
That's
just like
great.
he's just super cool and he's also open about his religion and like talks about that kind of stuff, but
Oh,
he's
okay,
like he doesn't
nice.
restrict himself. He doesn't like, you
Hmm.
know, make music for that. He makes music for him. And
Yeah.
a lot of his stuff, he did an EP recently called Her, where every single song was a collab with a solo female artist. Oh my gosh, the song is so good. Um, and he's just like so fun and genuine and his voice is beautiful and he's creative and I
Yeah.
just oh my gosh, I love his
I'm gonna check them
stuff.
out later for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was great.
And
I'll
then he
check them
has
out.
a wide range of genres as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I
Mhm.
was getting into like because every group does have a rapper, some of them will do solo stuff, and obviously famously with BTS, Suga's alter ego is
Ugh, August
August
D.
D. Yeah, August D. And like he releases mixtapes under August D. And like Digita was that the
Mhm.
last one from last year? And it's really good. Like he started out really young producing his own stuff anyway. And he produced
Mhm.
IU's Big Hit 8, which is such a touching song. And he raps on it where she, it's such a beautiful video too, where her friends had recently sort of, not sort of her friends recently had,
Mhm.
had, taken their lives. And oh, that's Digita. Yeah.
Mm.
This is great. August, yes, that's Sugar
It's so
from BTS.
cool.
I think doesn't even like Jungkook and one of the other ones appear in the video at some point. I
Yeah,
think he
Jin and
like
Jungkook
passes
are in
him
the
like in a little
background. They're
alley.
fighting. The
Yeah.
youngest and the
Yeah,
oldest.
that's
They're like
great. It's
fighting
really good.
each other.
Yeah. That's really great.
Well,
It's really good.
I hope we don't get this video taken down because of our
No.
little video excerpts, but we should get it.
Five
I think
seconds or
we're
It's
less
for
is
okay.
fine.
research.
It's
It's
Yeah.
for
fine.
well, it is historical. We'll get it put
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah.
But anyway, like yeah, this is
Just
fun.
put the
You guys
word reacting
oh,
to.
I know, right? Reaction
Mhm.
video.
Did you see McKenna? Did you
Uh,
do watch any of these competition shows when they come on, or like after the fact? Maybe do you watch them on YouTube? Any of the competition shows?
I watch like highlight stuff just because my attention span is so short. Like
Same.
I just watch my favorite people and I move on.
Yeah. Mm. It's funny. I remember when I got into it twice. I went back and watched all of 16 because it was fascinating to watch their formation, and it's really fun. But
Mhm.
then they had this one last year, or maybe last year, yeah. That called Good Girl. Did you hear about this one? It's basically like they got female singers and rappers on. You know, it was a competition show. So you had like singers like some of my favorite singers like Ailey, who's one of my favorite. She's like the Korean
Oh yeah.
Beyonce, again, Korean American, and Jamie, who's a great singer as well. But they also had like a lot of the rappers like Queen Wasabi and Sleek and uh, who else? Young G and someone who really surprised me. I haven't gotten into them is Card. Uh,
Oh yeah.
Jean Ji Woo from Card was on
Mm-hmm.
it, and she was incredible because she's the rapper. And I was like, oh my god, because Card's that rare group that has
Mm-hmm.
boys and girls. It has two guys, two girls. Um, the Good Girl, yeah, Good Girl. If you find their song "Witch" is fucking amazing. Sorry for language, but it's got Jamie in it. It's got it's got Hyun from sorry, your name from Girls' Generation. Uh, it's got I think Young G in it. It's just this powerhouse of female rappers
So,
and singers. The
so
song is so good.
well, let me back up 1 second though, because you just said something really shocking,
Mhm.
which is like there's only a few groups that are mixed that have boys and
Yeah,
girls.
Very little,
Card
yeah. I
might
think
be
it's like,
Card's one of the only almost yeah.
It's called
yeah, pretty
Card.
much.
K A R D.
K-A-R-D.
Mhm.
Yeah, two guys, two
Yeah.
girls. Yeah.
Them, and then I know that there's another group called Checkmate, and they debuted in like the
Oh, I'm gonna check.
end of 2020. They released like a few songs.
Holy
Um,
crap!
Well, well, Hyuna and Dawn were in one together too
mhm. It
before
was
they left.
Hyuna,
This
Yeah,
is
Dawn, and
this is
another girl
Card.
from
Oh
Pentagon.
my gosh, look at
yeah,
this. It's a
Yeah,
yeah.
boy.
they're
Their
cool.
recent one I really liked. Yeah,
Hmm.
their recent one I really liked as well. I haven't really gotten into it, but I really the more I saw them and seeing her on Good Girl, I was like, my God, she's incredible. A great rapper,
Hmm.
but also obviously a really good dancer. I think she's their main dancer and good singer as well. It's like, yeah, they're great, but it's rare you see these them mix like that, and I think it's awesome. I wish they did more of
Shocking.
that. So
Must be
Hmm.
stopped.
yeah, I know. Oh my God. Um, but I really, yeah, I would suggest to you, McKenna, if you haven't checked out Nuxall, he's great. He was on, I think, one of the Show Me the Monies a few years ago,
Ooh,
and it's Nukasal. Nuxall,
I've heard a few
Nukasal.
of
He's a
his stuff.
rapper.
Yeah.
He's great. He's really
Hmm.
good, and he's the other one. Like you, what I love about him also is like you get a lot of these, and there's definitely some, been some cultural appropriation conversations happening in Korean rap and in pop, but he's one of those ones where he's got this long hair, and when you see him in his videos, he's definitely like looks really cool. But you see him in these variety shows, you get this. Oh,
Uh-oh, resume.
did
Sorry.
our recording stop?
Sorry.
There we go. Resume. There we go. That's okay. But you see him on the he's on the one of the record. Yeah, there he is. Like he has this long hair, and even they jokingly call him Uni sometimes because Uni's like a what younger girls will call older girls like an older sister. But because he has this long hair,
Hmm.
they call him Uni. But his music, you gotta listen to this. It's really we don't have to right now, but like, he's really good. But he's on like one of those variety shows called like Amazing Saturday, and he's really funny and he's charming and he's silly and like you would never see like an American rapper, like well
No.
maybe on occasion you might like LL can be really silly and funny, some
Yeah,
other
like
ones,
Tyler the
but not
Creator.
the norm. Yeah, not the norm for them to do something like that, and that's what I love about him. I think uh, he's free spirit. There's a great channel called Dingo, and they do different things where they do one artist. Um, they do one artist where they'll do like a compilation of their songs, a little medley, and they've Mama Moo's been on there, Nuxall has one on there. I definitely go check that out. Um, but what so you talk about other besides K-pop and K-rap, some other Korean music you got into. Like how did that happen? Like especially this old band you're talking about, Onions, things like that. Like how did
Hmm.
that happen?
Yeah, I found it in some random YouTube video because I was really curious about how K-pop like started. And so I watched like a history video about it, going back to like Japanese invasion, whatever. Um, and then talking about like the really early groups and stuff like that. And then they, showed that thumbnail of one of their albums on the screen and played like a little bit of the music. And I was like, wait, that sounds really nice. And so I go and there's only like one album on Apple Music, no other platform. And it's like the best of kind of an album. And it said that it came out in 1989, but that's when it was posted. The song that I like is from 1979.
Mm.
And you can see like
Yeah,
videos of them performing it in black and white, like in a random hall.
I
And
saw those. Yeah, they're
yeah.
real good harmonizers. They're good. Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
it's just like it's just nice to listen to, like Korean folk music that like all the old people listen to from like the 70s. It's just like it's just there's something about it, even though I have no idea what they're talking about, and like it's completely different from everything
Yeah.
else that I listen to. It's just like nice. Like the song that I like makes me feel like I'm on a beach in Hawaii. Like that's just what it feels like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the Korean folk music we talked about before is called trot, and that's actually made kind of a
Oh
comeback.
yeah,
There's
trot.
even like a trot competition show recently, and like it's starting to mix in with like even JYP uh released a trot song recently with this young girl. I'd seen her and she's been on a lot of different variety shows. And she's adorable and she's got a great trot voice and he just did it's very country. He's in the video, it's really fun. Um yeah, that's really. I
Of
checked
course
them
it
out.
is.
They were really cool. They were really cool. Oh God, I forgot her name. Oh my God, because I used to watch her YouTube channel because she does a lot of great covers, even K-pop covers. But she was so cute when he was like trying to find this trot singer, and she'd been on. Oh, there's a variety show they have called with all these singers come together, and it's like God, I forgot it's this long show. There's a whole panel and judge. I forgot anyway. But a lot
It's
of
a
K-pop
Korean
groups up here
show.
on it. Yeah, there's a lot of
Mm.
K-pop bands will be on it. A lot of legit singers will be on it. A lot of trot singers will come on it. Um,
It was like
like
the
Destiny or whatever. I don't know.
like the Star Search of Korea,
Well,
or
it's already established singers, but it's just
mm.
sort of again another competition type show, and it's really they do it for like just sort of press and to be fun, have fun with it, and just sort of
Like
like
Mass
enjoy
Singer
the event.
kind of.
Similar, yeah. The original Mass people don't know the original Mass
Ah,
Singer is from Korea, and it's low. Let me tell you what, nothing like the American one because those costumes in the Korea are really low rent because it's a lot cheaper production, but it's still really fun to watch. I've seen, and again, Ryan Reynolds appeared on it when he's promoting Deadpool one time. It was
mm.
really fun.
Remember
Um,
that?
yeah, it was really really fun. So besides obviously, and this was interesting you said it because I find myself too. I listen to everything. I grew up to a lot of hip hop, a lot of R&B, American pop, American rock, and I sort of just fell into that. I was fine. I still listen to like opera or musical theater, things like that. But I find that a lot of people that listen to K-pop and that type of music strictly listen to that.
Mm.
And I found myself even recently, that's all I've been listening to a lot. I still listen to, another 10% of American stuff here and there. I realize a lot of British rap I like, but I found myself just falling down. Do you find yourself with the same thing? Is there any American groups or singers you like that you are listening to currently?
There's a couple. I really like Jaden Smith and
Yeah, same.
like The Neighborhood,
Mhm.
and I still listen to like
Oh, we
I
missed you there.
listen
You
Where
first.
you miss
to
you.
Who
You
was that
still
you
listen
listed?
to?
MCR.
Uh,
Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah.
yeah, they're great.
Excellent. Yeah,
Um and then like a French group called Video Club. I really like their music.
mm, nice.
And just like yeah, that's pretty much it. There's probably a
Yeah,
couple others, but that's pretty much it. Like
yeah,
and then I listen to Thai and Japanese and Chinese and Korean and like
amazing. It's good to be
yeah.
worldly. Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
it's so great that we have access to all this stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wrote a whole study one time of, back in the 90s, like, we had CDs first off and
Mhm.
mixtapes. You'd make a
Yeah.
mixtape. That's how you did, that was also the
That's how I
Tinder.
got my girl. What's
That's
up?
how the Tinder of the time, you made a mixtape for the person you liked. And but there was a CD series that came out from this magazine that was called Research. It was called Incredibly Strange Music, which nowadays would be considered incredibly racist because it was just music from India and music from different countries.
Oh.
Really, but it did have really weird stuff on it. And one of the songs on there was the Indian hit Jan Ho, which is from Ghost World's opening credits. Okay, so it's like an old
Nice.
Bollywood hit, but it's a great song, but it's like also my friends would use it in their shows and stuff, and it just came from that one CD that had the song on it.
Nice.
And but yeah, I'm just saying it's like, we did not have, like, if you got this one CD with Jahan Pachano, like, you would be like, oh, Indian music sounds really cool. It wasn't like you just went to YouTube and watched 8,000 videos within 10 minutes, and like Jimmy, look at him, he's just rattling off the names of Korean game shows and chat shows like he
I
lives.
watched them all.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
That's all I do.
you have, and
I know I
I'm
have.
just gonna show. I'm gonna show one more thing here, though, because
To see if I
just
know it.
no, 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 no. This is just for me, just to show, like, I found just because old school, because it's so funny. I did find, like, we thought Shonen Knife was
Oh yeah.
so cool, and this is like the '90s. This is
Yeah.
theirs, right? Like this is how we did things in
Oh,
the '90s.
cute.
You
So
Oh, I love
cute.
know,
this.
I know they're a great band. They are.
Yeah.
They actually had their own tribute band album. That's how they came out. It was like so many musicians were fans of Shonen Knife that they like Sonic Youth and a lot of these '90s bands, the grunge bands, did like a tribute album to Shonen Knife, and so that anyway, it's very small, but we did not have access to this spreading wildfire of culture and media and
Yeah.
influence like we do now. And just like, I feel like now, even what you were saying about that one video where we're like, oh yeah, and the guys from BTS are in the background, it's like everything in hip hop to me is like one big team up. It's like one big
Which is great.
um
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like one big super team, because anytime you even look at the track listing on Spotify, it'll be like, featuring so and so, and like 20 names. It's like
Mhm.
everybody teams up all the time, and a lot of that is because of oh, we lost
Uh-oh, we
McKenna.
lost McKenna. Oh
Ah,
no. Oh, she's
there
back.
she is. Yeah, because of the producers. Like a lot of times the producers control a lot of the or they have access to these singers, and so they'll bring them in, and it's just one big group. So yay, she's back. Um, yeah, so
Sorry.
It's
no,
all
it's
right.
all good.
All
It's all
good.
good. But I mean, I feel like with all of this, like I feel like there's more competition among K-pop groups. So it's not like they guest star a lot, maybe.
Well, it's also the companies, I think. Well, and
Yeah.
then there is like literally, we talked about this last week. Paul and I were mentioning the various music shows every week. There's 5 or 6 music shows that when they're promoting, they appear on throughout those 2 or 3 weeks, and it is a competition because at the end, they they win an award to most sales, both digitally, physically, this and that. So it definitely is, and it's when you see like the heavy hitters go against each other, you're like, oh my god, holy crap! It's like it's in like 30 groups will appear on one show maybe, and
Wow.
like it's pretty incredible. This is every week. They'll do multiple shows a week, and yeah, it is definitely competitive, I'm sure.
Mm.
But with the crossover thing, it's tough because the companies, the contracts, like they're tied to their company. Like it's you're not gonna you will on occasion, like you'll see crossovers. You're certainly, I guess, probably more than on occasion. But I remember like Buell from Mamamoo and Solgi from Red Velvet did a song together, but they had just appeared on a variety show together. So maybe that's the companies that got together
So,
that way. I don't know. So yeah.
Jimmy, I think you should do a whole YouTube series about K-pop. I think you should do a weekly K-pop news show,
Okay.
and you could talk about all this stuff, and there you go. You
Sure.
get a whole new
McKenna,
world.
you want to be a correspondent? We can start it.
Oh.
Yeah. I need the youth voice. Like some old dudes talking about
Yeah.
K-pop. We need
Yeah,
the
we'll
youth
find
voice.
it. We'll find it. I think it'll all happen naturally because we've been doing this live stream for a year. We'll say episode 66, so more than a year. And like first it was movies and TV, but Jimmy made so many references to K-pop all the time. So we were
Slide them
like,
in there.
so we're
Yeah.
about to go. This is a kind of an announcement for those who are listening
Yes.
and watching. We are about to go on hiatus for the rest of the summer because you know what? Everybody's so busy. I've just been
Yeah.
traveling around and, busy. Jimmy's working. So, yeah, we're going to go.
Yeah.
Comic Beat Insider is going to go on hiatus. But I said before we went on hiatus, we had to do K-pop. We had to
Yes.
get it
K-pop
out of
month.
Jimmy's system
That's
once and
right.
for all.
Yeah. So this will give you time to catch up on all that stuff I talked about, people that are listening and watching. So yeah. So we're gonna wrap this up, but finally I want to ask you is like just about what do you think is the future of K-pop, and do you think
Mm.
it's universal and ageless and things like that?
I think it's definitely going to get bigger just because, like, more and more people are sort of discovering it, especially with BTS's new English stuff, because people are more attracted to that because they're like, oh, I can understand the lyrics without having to, like, read them every time I
Mhm.
listen to the song. But then, like, a lot of kids kind of get their parents into K-pop. I've seen that a
Yeah.
lot on Twitter.
Yeah.
They're
So
like,
there's
oh, my
nothing
mom's
wrong
like
with
super
old
into
people
BTS
liking
now.
K-pop, right?
Right.
Nothing
That's
wrong with it.
right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. We've got to confirm
Yeah.
from a 19-year-old that it's okay for an old to like K-pop. Okay, so back off, people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So it
And
is
then people,
ageless.
reacting to it, whatever,
Yeah,
they just like they start getting into it, and I find it like really cool. I don't know.
awesome, awesome. Well, the next one's concerts start happening again. I know I told your mom this before. Like, get me a ticket. I'll go with you because I'm going to be Uncle Jimmy that comes to the concert with you. So Uncle Jimmy will take McKenna to the concert and we'll hang out. I'm like, why is your uncle enjoying this more than you? Shut up. He likes it.
Yeah.
You're the one with the
Definitely.
light stick.
That's
I'm
right.
just
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
be like,
kidding.
I'm like,
You,
whoa.
just as an observer, and as also, I had various like, as a music journalist for 15 years, and was in a band, but did my own little musical thing for 10 years. But anyway, I'll say this: I do agree with you, McKenna. I think it's going to get bigger. I just think, when you say the word globalization, can be a very bad word, but I mean it in a positive sense, in that um, we're just to have access to these other kinds, other areas of music, other areas of culture, so readily now. And what it's as great as, BTS and Blackpink, I mean, they're great pop bands, period. The end. That's all there is to it. And I do think they're going to find more. And I don't see this kind of cross pollination going away anytime soon, especially with social media. We're just, and also,
Mhm.
by the way, we need this kind of music right now. I
Mhm.
just finished
Yeah.
watching Ted Lasso with my parents. I just got back from visiting my parents in Maine, and I got them to watch Ted Lasso, which they don't like anything new. Like my stepfather, who, by the way, McKenna, he wrote Golden Girls, so he has like a real pop culture credibility. But he
Mm.
was talking about, like, I was trying to get him to listen to something that was made past Simon and Garfunkel, and it was impossible. So, but I got him to watch Ted Lasso, and he loved it, and even my mother loved it. She's
Hmm.
not that interested. But I think the reason they did was because, A, the show is funny, but it's also really optimistic,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of really good feeling and good optimism and just, happiness and joy in a
Mhm.
lot of K-pop stuff. I mean, I know they're dealing more and more with mental health issues, with serious
Yeah.
subjects too, but there's just a lot of joy and happiness in it that
Mhm.
people really react to in these
Yeah.
times, I believe.
I think so. Well, two things. One on that, one on something else to close out. But as I mentioned in the past, I'm always curious and baffled when people stop listening to modern
Mhm.
music. And McKenna,
Mhm.
I've said this before, where I've never stopped, obviously, but like my mom stopped in the 50s. Like she should have been a big Beatles fan, but she wasn't. She stopped at Elvis and
Yeah.
Motown. People my age stopped in the 80s or 90s, and that's all they want to listen to. And that is, it's so curious and baffling to me. Like, why? There's great. Oh, there's nothing good out there. Yes, there is. Explore, find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's okay to still like I still like the old stuff. I still like even like stuff way before my time, but I still really love modern music, not just K-pop, just even modern American and British and anything else. But that's always curious to me. But the other thing about
Well,
the
that's a that,
lasting,
can I just jump in here?
mm,
That is, you raise a really great point. It's
mm,
something to do with like human nature and human
mhm,
development, and like,
Mhm.
yeah,
it's absolutely something to do with socialization.
mm,
But it's very interesting phenomenon how
yeah,
people
it really is.
shut it down after a certain time.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
I'm sorry.
curious
Go
to me.
on, Jimmy.
No, just saying, and then I think the reason why when McKenna said that it's just going to get bigger and bigger, K-pop is like you see BTS made their company. Now their company was called Big Hit Entertainment. They just changed their name to Hybe, HYBE. They've bought out a bunch of other smaller companies. They've kind of bought out Scooter Braun's company. So now they have they have Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, people like that in their roster now. So there's going to be crossovers. They become one of the biggest labels. Like there was the three
Mhm.
big, the big three in K-pop was JYP, YG, and SM,
SM.
and now Hybe is like, no, we're here. We're the big four now,
Yeah.
and we're actually probably the big one. And it's like, and that's because
Mhm.
and BTS made them.
Yeah.
BTS made that company what it is today. So if it wasn't for BTS, that company would probably not be around. It might have gone bankrupt.
Yeah. They were almost bankrupt. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely a bright future for K-pop. And McKenna and I will be here leading the way with our light sticks and our For sure.
Well, I'm gonna fire up some old playlists on Spotify.
That's right.
You know,
I'm gonna
now
send
that
you.
I'm done
That's
traveling.
right. Send you some links, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
check out some of the stuff McKenna
Mhm.
said. Definitely check out some of the stuff I said for sure.
Mhm.
But we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much, McKenna, for
Yeah,
joining.
Kenna, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you for
That's
putting up
great.
with us quizzing you. Like you went to your
Oh.
grandma's house and she's like, "Now what are you listening to now? What's this music? What is this? What are you
Excuse
talking
me,
about?"
I'm the uncle, not the grandpa. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
familiar
Well,
with
I'm grandma. I can be grandma.
it. Okay,
So
but thank you so much. Really appreciate it. But we are going to get out here. Thanks for everybody for listening. Check this out. You can, of course, hear this on Comic News Insider, the audio version you'll hear later this week. I am Jimmy Aquino with Comic News Insider, the weekly podcast covering comics, TV, film, and pop culture at comicnewsinsider.com. You can find me on the socials at Jimmy Aquino, JIMMYAQUINO.
and I'm Heidi McDonald. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com. And you can find me on all social media as Comixace, COMIXACE.
And McKenna?
I have an Instagram.
Do you want to
Okay.
give out? You don't have to. You want to give
You
out
don't
your
have
handle?
to. That's
You don't have
okay.
to.
You
That's
can
right.
keep it
Nah.
private.
That's
Yeah.
all right. Keep it. That's fine.
Yeah, probably. Good idea.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. But thanks again for
Yeah.
joining us. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. We appreciate it. And we're gonna take, as she said, we're gonna take a little hiatus. And then we may not do it weekly. We may just sort of do it, maybe twice a month, once a month, maybe when we feel like it. I'm still doing the regular podcast. She still runs the Beat, the website, when we have, working full time. So things are busier, and hopefully we'll be getting better around the world so we can actually go visit people and see things
Yeah,
more. And
someday we may do this in person even.
yes,
So
oh my God,
yeah.
the thought of that. But look forward to seeing you, McKenna, and your parents in the near future in the flesh, hopefully at a K-pop concert. And
Hopefully.
even if we have to fly to
Mhm.
South Korea, we're gonna do it. All right.
Yes.
That's right.
Well,
Absolutely.
well, everyone, have a great rest of the summer.
Yes.
Thank you for listening and
Mhm.
watching. It's been a blast, and keep K-popping.
That's right. Annyeong.
Bye. Hi, Anyon.